All right, thanks for coming out. Like I said on the teleconference Sunday, hope everyone had a great Saturday off. For those of you that just covered the Gamecocks and got a Saturday off, and I know some of y'all were probably covering other games, but good to have everybody back in here. Excited to be back in the SEC play this week after two non-conference games. Our players and coaches enjoyed a little bit of a break physically and mentally. Coaches worked on Friday and we're back in here Sunday morning and took Saturday off, and then the players had the whole weekend off, which was a good break for them at the halfway point of the season, or almost halfway point of the season. I came back in here on Sunday as a team and had a good practice Sunday evening and good prep day yesterday and good practice this morning. And we'll need it. Got a big challenge this Saturday up in Lexington. Heck of a team that Coach Stoops has as well, really playing well in all three phases right now, running the football offensively. We're getting Rodriguez back obviously made a difference for them on Saturday, and explosive plays in the passing game, an NFL quarterback, defensively, physical, and they got size and length up front, two hellacious linebackers in the middle, and then they're really doing some great things on special teams as well. So told our players this morning we're going to need all three phases, offense, defense, and special teams, to play really, really well Saturday night. And our guys are excited about it and looking forward to going up there and competing. Questions?
Shane, is there an update on Darius and Dylan and all those guys who've been kind of banged up lately?
Yeah, should be full speed and good to go. Both of them practiced this morning. Dylan and Darius both look great. There are no limitations out there today. Really, everybody went. We're game 6, so there's normal bumps and bruises and guys that need to come along here these next couple of days for sure. But nobody that we would sit here today and rule out as we sit here on Tuesday. It's long season and we're approaching halfway point of the regular season, so bumps and bruises like everybody, but nobody other than the guys that have previously been announced as season ending that I could sit here and say definitely aren't playing on Saturday, and hope to have everybody as full strength as possible.
Yeah, Coach, ACC Network just put out the thing with it was a Frank Beamer special. Saw you were part of that. Obviously, you said a lot about adopting some of his philosophies and stuff. But how did it come together to where you were a part of that, and just what do you think about the ACC Network putting that together?
I thought they did a great job. I didn't get to see it when it came on last night. I recorded it and watched it when I got home late last night, but had a lot of people reach out to me, and I thought they did a great job with it in regards to me being a part of it. They called and asked if I'd sit down and interview. So I appreciate them asking me to be a part of it. It was great to see so many of his former players on that special. Made me really, really proud as a son to watch it last night, and thought they did a great job of telling that story, and certainly appreciative of the ACC Network considering him a legend, and the ACC considering him a legend, and then putting that together. It was pretty cool to see some of the old footage, and me back when I was in 8th grade, carrying the headphone cords on the sideline as well. My son saw it. He says he wants to be that guy now, and I had to tell him that they're all cordless now, so there are no more cords anymore. So he was shook when he heard that one. We'll figure out a job for him as he gets older.
Hey, Shane, the fans seem to have this one circled for a while now, whether it's, the comments from Mark Stoops in the offseason or, losing 7 out of the last 8 to Kentucky. Do you guys feel that too, that this one seems to be a little bit more important?
They're all important, and that's not coach speak. I mean, it's anytime you get back in the SEC, it's critical as well. And we've got great respect for their program, and this is a game that was a big game when I was here before. I remember, I think I talked about it last week, was the Kentucky coming in here nationally ranked on a Thursday night and us winning. And then all you guys that were here remember, we beat Alabama. They were number 1 in the country. And then I'm still having visions of Randall Cobb on 4th down or whatever it was on a game-winning touchdown pass. This game's always been competitive, and I think it's two programs that have a lot of respect, for each other, and it's certainly a critical game for us. It's the next one on the schedule, and we had a heck of a game with them last year and couldn't quite finish and get over the hump and win that game. And I know our guys are excited for the challenge this week.
Shane, is there a way to get Hunter an extension cord on the sidelines? And have him?
I'm sure there is. He'll come up with it if there is. He'll figure it out.
I guess, and going into the year, we talked a lot about this team needing to play better away from home.
Mm-hmm.
Now that you've had these 3 home games, do you feel a little bit more comfortable taking this team on the road? And what does a good road team look like? What is a team that plays well on the road?
Yeah, I know we didn't play great at Arkansas, but I told the guys this morning, and I believe it. I mean, I felt very confident about our ability to go on the road by going to Arkansas. To me, a great road team is they're able to respond to adversity and not flinch and just get stronger. And we didn't get off to a great start at Arkansas. There's no doubt about it. We were down 21-3. But I think a team that's not built to handle the road gets blown out of that game. We battled back and made it 21-16 in the third quarter, and then we didn't lose the game to Arkansas because we were on the road or because we couldn't handle the environment. We lost to Arkansas because we couldn't stop the run and we turned the ball over 3 times in the fourth quarter. So what we need to do is embrace going on the road. As a competitor, you love going into another stadium, and I'm sure it'll be rocking up there on Saturday night as it should be. And then we've just got to do what we talk about doing that helps us win football games, running the ball and stopping the run and creating turnovers and playing smart football and winning the fourth quarter and winning the explosive play battle. Do that and play well. But I feel like we're a mature team that has handled that. We showed some maturity last week, handling the short week, and it's going to be critical for us to be mature, resilient, composed, physical, all that stuff in order to win on the road.
Shane, with what Coach Stoops has done there at Kentucky since he's been there, with the gradual talent upgrades and the support he's gotten from the university, how does that compare with some of the better examples you've seen of how to build a program in Power 5?
Yeah, it's right up there for sure. What did he win? 2 games his first year, and I think 5 his second year. So He won 2 games his first year. He won 5 his second year, and then he just continued to just build that. And it shows that it takes some time, and the administration gave him the resources, and he's done a great job. And just thinking of it, I'm biased. I think my dad, is right up there at the top. Certainly, Coach Snyder at Kansas State, and just trying to think of them. It's good, in a program that. I lived in the state of Kentucky for 8 years, I guess, when my dad was the head coach at Murray State. So, I grew up remembering, I think I may have mentioned this last year, kids coming into school and having show and tell from going to see the Kentucky basketball team and Mel Turpin and Kenny Skywalker and all these guys on an away game. And that was like show and tell at Southwest Elementary School in Murray, Kentucky. So, I feel like I've got a lot of familiarity with Kentucky football, and Pookie Jones that played there back in the day was from Murray, Kentucky, and so I'm very familiar with the program, and I don't want to say I watched it as I was growing up, but living in that state, you understand how important UK athletics is in the state, along with Louisville, and it's a proud program with a great fan base and great support, and they've continued to just elevate their program, and they've just got, to me, Gene, they've got great just consistency, and the team, like with these guys, you have to beat them. They get games in the fourth quarter and they find ways to win it. And same like Ole Miss the other day. They just kept chipping away. And next thing you know, they're in the fourth quarter with a chance to win the game with under a minute left. So you got to go beat them. Coach Stoops has done a great job elevating it, and really impressed with just the way they play, and they've got really good players. You look at last year's team. There was a bunch of guys that I think are on NFL rosters right now, and there's a bunch of guys on their team this year that will be on NFL rosters also.
Sort of going off of Colin's question, but it's been a few weeks since the team's gone on the road. I heard the sound blasting at practice. Just what kind of things do you try to do to get a team re-prepared for an away game like this? Yeah, certainly crowd noise is an issue that you don't have to worry about so much at home. And that's not just offense. That's when you're on special teams as well. Like when we punt, and the communication you got to have with the punt team out there, and preparing for that crowd noise. To be honest with you, though, not a lot. We play the music in certain parts of practice, whether we're playing at home or away. The one thing that we do differently is on Thursdays in practice, we'll
we'll utilize crowd noise a little bit more in the team periods with the offense and things like that, just so we have to communicate. Punt team, we did a little bit today. If you heard it towards the end of practice, it would have been when we were kicking field goals. We do that home or away just to try and, make things difficult on the kickers and just create more pressure. But we try and keep the routine the same. Our schedule on Friday will be the exact same as what it is for a home game. Other than just instead of getting on a bus to go to a hotel, we got to get on a bus to get on an airplane. But the schedule's the same on game day as well, and try and not make it bigger than it is. Doing what we have to do to just go play well and coach well. And that's the most important thing.
Hey, Shane.
Hey.
This back half of the schedule is pretty tough compared to that first half. You're coming off of 2 dominant wins. How much does this game feel like kind of a tone setter as you guys enter that, more difficult SEC heavy backstretch here?
Yeah, it's the next one, and certainly if we were fortunate enough to be able to win this game, it would make the off week coming up a lot more enjoyable, for sure. And certainly whenever you win, just like the last 2 weeks, it creates momentum that you want to be able to, continue. But it's we don't want to make it bigger than what it is. It's the next one. It's the next opportunity for us to continue to get better as a football team. Not that I want to have the same result that we had last year before the off week, but the last year before the off week, we went out there and played awful against Texas A&M, and then came back the very next week and beat Florida and won 3 out of 5 or whatever it was down the stretch. So we'd like to have a different scenario this year where you win going into the off week. But we'll put together a great plan and prepare to go play our very best on Saturday night. And certainly, if we're fortunate enough to win, it would be awesome. And if not, then we'll come right back to work on the next day and continue to try and get better and get ready to compete against the next opponent.
How well do you remember the last time South Carolina played at Kentucky?
That would have been last time South Carolina.
I was at Kentucky.
Oh, that was the night I got the job, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember it pretty dang good.
Yeah. It's my birthday too.
Huh?
I said that was my birthday too.
Was it?
Yeah.
Well, I thought that's what you were going to say, is it was your birthday, or I should have said that. No, I remember that night well, for sure. I remember watching it on television, and it was a pretty cool phone call I got that night from Coach Tanner, and the rest is history.
And obviously a little unique in that I guess you were sitting at home.
Yeah.
Ending COVID or whatever, and
Yes.
watching your current team play, and then
Yeah.
your future team play. How did you kind of balance which screen you paid more attention to that night as you were sitting at your house?
Since I don't work there anymore, all I watched was the South Carolina game. I flipped back and forth just to see how we were doing, but it was one of those kind of like I was home with COVID that whole week, so I zoomed into every meeting, and I was coaching tight ends, so Stogner would have been in those meetings. I was running the tight end meeting from the upstairs room at our house where I was isolating in, so you prepared the tight ends at Oklahoma to play, and then when you get to Saturday, there's not like I can text Lincoln during the game about something that I see that was going on with Oklahoma and Baylor that night. So I was certainly had a great, don't get me wrong, I cared about what was going on. Those were the guys that I coached, but I also knew that I was, my life was probably getting ready to change one way or the other based on a phone call that I was going to get from Coach Tanner, that night. And certainly once you got that phone call, I wanted to watch as much of the South Carolina-Kentucky game as possible. But honestly, once that phone call happened, it was such a blur. I don't even remember if I watched much of the game after that. It was more what's next, and I got to get on a plane tomorrow morning and fly to Columbia.
You talked about how Kentucky just finds a way to win games in the fourth quarter. You haven't had a one-score game yet coming down the stretch. How do you keep your guys sharp on stuff like that? And I guess, what do you think the mentality of this team would be if they get in that situation eventually?
Yeah, I think it'd be good. You prepare for as many scenarios as you can, and certainly you want to have games where you take control in the second half and don't have to worry about that. And I think our guys have shown that we can handle adversity, and we pride ourselves on playing well in the fourth quarter as well. And we want to be able to get games into the fourth quarter without a doubt also. And the other thing, Hale, too, I felt like garbage that whole week. So Saturday, Saturday, my wife was like, we need to get one of those, what is it, like an IV where they like pump in like juice or fluids or whatever into you. So it was supposedly something, but she said helps like get your energy back. It's like it's an IV, but it's like an energy boost or something. I don't know. Some of you medical people may know about it. So they literally came in the house, and I'm literally coming off COVID. I'm in the living room getting an IV, watching South Carolina, Kentucky play, and just phone in one hand, waiting on Coach Tanner to call. So I remember that. I don't know if it helped, but I felt better the next day, and I was able to get out of quarantine. I guess that day was when I was able to come out of the next morning. So I got my IV, and I was boosted up and ready to roll to come to Columbia the next day, 15 pounds lighter.
Hey, Shane, I know you told us that before the Charlotte game, you told the guys to go out and just have fun.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now you've had 2 blowout wins. So I guess I want to know, are the guys a little more relaxed now? Are they having more fun? Not that they weren't having fun before, but just being able to enjoy themselves a little more, especially during games.
Yeah, I think so. I hope so. I felt like, those first 3 games, not that there was pressure on us, but it was almost like feeling like you had to make every play and not being able to just go relax and have fun. And we want to work really, really hard during the week and prepare really, really well during the week so that we can go out on Saturdays and just turn it loose and have fun and not worried about making mistakes. And I think our guys have done that the last couple weeks, and this week will be no different. You prepare really, really hard, but Saturday night, SEC Saturday night game, under the lights, on the road, national television. I mean, what more could you want? I mean, that should be exciting and should be fun. And want our guys to have fun playing with each other and playing with passion and celebrating with each other as well. And now you got to go play well in order to do that. But I think so, Rick. I mean, I think they've they know that we have a good football team and we haven't played our best, and we're still striving to play our best on all 3 phases. But next Saturday night's the next opportunity, and I think our guys are excited to go do that.
Hey, Shane, I appreciate your help with everything on Friday too last week.
School? Yeah, I don't know what I did, but you're welcome.
Appreciate it. Yeah. But yeah, just talking about Kentucky a little bit. They've got 3 wide receivers that they throw to quite a lot of speed on the outside. How are you guys going about defending it? And I guess what are you telling your safeties and DBs this week?
Yeah. You want me to be like Coach Saban yesterday when he got asked that question about what he was going to do with the quarterback, and he's like, what do you want me to do, give you the plan? Similar. No, we've got a big challenge facing those guys as well. Obviously getting Rodriguez back, they're able to run the football efficiently with him. I mean, he's a proven back, but now you've got what is it? 2, 6, and 9, I think are their numbers with Brown and Dane and Robinson. They're fantastic players, and they're electric and dynamic on the outside. I mean, great in the return game. One returns punts for them, the other one returns kickoff returns for them. So they're explosive there, and they've got great speed and can run past you. Don't know the young man from Nashville, but obviously Robinson's from Virginia, and remember him because he obviously went to Virginia Tech, and I was at Georgia, I guess, and went into his school, and we were looking at him. And then Dane Key, we tried to recruit here last year, and felt like we had a good opportunity until I got word that when Florida beat Kentucky, or when Kentucky beat Florida last year, that Dane's mom was at the game and leaped over the wall and like broke her foot or something storming the field after Kentucky beat Florida. So I felt like we had a pretty good chance. But note to self, like when the recruit's mom injures a foot storming the field, you're probably not going to get that guy at your school. That's the story I was told. So if that's not true, I'm sorry, Miss Key, but that's what I heard. But he's a great young man, and those 3 guys are really, really talented. And it's going to be a big challenge for not only Cam and Sell and Darius and our corners, but the whole defense, because everybody's going to be the pass rush has got to get there. We got to stop the run, first of all. The linebackers got to make plays. Our safeties are going to be involved with them on coverage. So it's a team effort because they're really, really explosive, and they can make big plays, and they can go up and get it. I mean, you saw the catch that Dane made against Florida where he went up and got it, and then some of the plays they made throughout the season. It's really impressive to watch, along with an NFL quarterback.
Shane, I was gonna say, is that elementary school still there in Murray, Kentucky?
Oh heck yeah, yeah. Southwest. I'm not that old, man. Yeah, Southwest Elementary School. It is.
And I guess when you look at Spencer's progression over the last 5 games, I mean, I know it's not necessarily always totally linear, but I guess in terms of what you've seen from him, game 1 to now, what's different? What's changed? What do you feel like he's done over that time to sort of improve and where he's at now?
I think he's got really good command of what we're doing. I think he's got a better understanding of it for sure. If you look at what we're doing conceptually, I think we've really shrunk it down in some ways since the first game. Not that we were doing too much in the first game, but I do think, we're running a lot of the same pass concepts, just out of different formations, and, we're running the ball. And if teams are committing too many people to the box to stop the run, Spencer's done a good job of kicking the ball out, on the perimeter, and let's go get 5, 6 or more yards as well. We talked to him after one of those first couple games about not always, escaping out of the pocket when he felt pressure, stepping up in it. Like I talked about on the teleconference, he did that the other night on the touchdown pass to Stogner. I think he's got more, I don't want to say confidence, but he's done a great job of being a leader, the last few weeks, and just continues to get more and more comfortable and confident with what he's doing, and then what we're doing around him as well.
Shane, what have you seen from Bam Martin Scott lately? Obviously depth has gotten him on the field, but what has he done to really earn that spot once he's gotten on the field?
Yeah, no, I'm a huge Bam fan. He's got size, David. That's what I like. And when you look at him, he looks like what a linebacker is supposed to look like. And, he's done a nice job for us on special teams, and he shows up there. He practices really hard. I'm a firm believer that what you're doing off the field relates to what you're doing on the field. He's doing fantastic academically right now, and proud of him from that standpoint. He's just he's matured and just goes out there and gets better each and every practice. I think he's a guy that we need to continue to play more for sure, because he has, like I said, size and instincts, and made a nice interception, a nice run after getting the interception the other night as well.
Don't get many free weekends in your job. Just, I'm curious how you spend it. You play any Call of Duty with Marcellus or anything like that?
No. It was a good Saturday. I got home Friday night, obviously, after work, and probably a lot like a lot of you guys, I guess, watching football. Woke up Saturday morning, had a couple cups of coffee, watched a little bit of game day, went downstairs, jumped on the Peloton for a while, came back upstairs, went and got a haircut, came home, watched football all afternoon. After the 12 noon game, went on a walk with the family for a little over an hour. Came home, watched more football, ordered Mexican food for dinner, built a fire on the back porch, and sat outside and watched football. Went to bed about 11, and that was it. So it was awesome as well. But enjoyed watching, and I see what a normal Saturday is like when you're not working on it, or not working on Saturday.
Was that a scripted Saturday, or did you audible? No. Shane,
it was scripted, I think. So it was very much planned, a lot of it.
Shane, some coaches put out a depth chart in the preseason. There's no changes. Others alter it a little. As far as yours is concerned, the tweaks and stuff, are those intended to be a reward? You're trying to motivate people, or what's up when you redo your depth chart each week?
A lot of it is how quickly can I get Steve Fink out of my office when he comes in here and says any changes to the depth chart. Let me just throw an "or" in there this week to make Fink happy. No, a little bit. No, I think a lot of it is I try and be as forthcoming as possible. But I do think that Cam Smith may line up different places each week, or an offensive tackle may be different each week. I don't know how much of an advantage, if that's the case, and that to be totally, I don't want to say honest, but to put guys exactly where they're going to be lining up if there are changes to the lineup. I think that is something. There's a strategic advantage where you're smart about it as well. But for the most part on there, I mean, what's reality is what we put on there, and I think this week we changed an or with Tonka Hemingway and some of the D linemen. And a lot of those ors, Gene, really are because I feel like we have multiple starters. Like if you look at our defensive tackles, I mean, those guys are rotating. We're playing about 6 defensive tackles. So to me, we've got 4 starters, and then we've got kind of the next couple with TJ Sanders and Nick Barrett, and just kind of reflecting that a little bit better. But it's nothing. I mean, we communicate with guys individually on the team if there are any depth chart changes, because we talk about competition here all the time. So we're constantly competing. Things aren't set in stone. But it's not like I put the depth chart up in the team meeting on Tuesday morning and say, okay, here's the changes, just so everybody knows. I mean, we communicate that with individuals, and they know as well. And a lot of that, too, the other thing, too, is Steve usually asks me that on Sunday night, and a lot of times on Sunday night, we really haven't made a decision as a staff on exactly what we may be doing this week, because at that point on Sunday night, we're just coming off the game from the day before. We haven't really dove into the next opponent yet, and a lot of those decisions are made on Mondays as well. Not that we don't update it, because I will if there are updates, but I hope that answers your question. So yeah, I think from a depth chart standpoint, but it's overall personnel with our team, we're constantly competing. You're evaluated every single day on what you do in practice and what you do on the field on Saturdays. And to me, your depth chart, who's playing, should reflect that. And we tell our players that all the time, that I don't care if you're a 6-year senior that's been a starter for 3 straight years. Like, you better keep competing, because there's other guys behind you that are continuing to try and get better, and we don't want anybody getting complacent around here.
I was going to ask you this before you reference Coach Saban and the quarterbacks thing, but Luke's obviously at that 4-game threshold. Is the plan for him to play if he needs to at some point down the road, or can you kind of share what the plan is there?
You talking about Luke Doty?
Because he's
4 games as far as the red shirt goes?
Correct.
Yeah. No, I mean, our plan is full speed ahead with him from that standpoint. Now, whether we have packages with Luke to get him in the game more, because he's shown this year that he's really a weapon with his feet as well. That's to be determined on that. But yeah, I mean, Luke's one of our top 2 quarterbacks right now, so we're continuing to try and get him ready to play. And you're right. There's a lot of guys. I mean, we have a staff meeting every game day as a staff, and that we cover a lot of different things. But one of the things we talk about in that meeting is how to play the players. And now that you're at this kind of halfway point, that's one of the things that comes up is, okay, we don't need to put this guy in the game unless it's an emergency, because we'd love to save those 4 games, or we're full speed ahead on this guy. I mean, there was one of our players was in my office right before I came in here, and that was one of the discussions we had. He's a freshman, and he's playing on a special team right now, but he's not playing as much on offense, defense, and just kind of talking about his role in the 4 games and all that as well. So those are things that we discuss, but we're full speed ahead on Luke.
Kentucky, since Mark Stoops has been around, has been one of the most physical teams in the SEC, in my estimation. Couple of things. How do you feel like your team matches up from a physicality standpoint, especially along both lines of scrimmages? And 2, Kentucky's offensive line doesn't seem to be having as great a success as they have maybe in recent years. Do you see anything different about them?
You're right. Your observation is correct. I mean, they are really, really physical, and I mean, they've always been that way. I mean, I can remember when I was at Georgia as an assistant, and Kirby used to talk about just how physical they were. And back then, this was before they had some of the new offensive coordinators, and they were doing a lot of wildcat, and it was physical downhill and trying to bloody your nose. And Kirby used to talk about that when I worked at Georgia. So that's their mentality. He's a defensive coach, and it shows. So I feel like I hope, we match up well. I like to think that we're pretty physical too. I think we've gotten better at that here the last couple of weeks. We practice physical because we're going to need to play physical on game days, but especially Saturday night. And our players certainly understand that. I mean, we've got to play physical on Saturday. There's no question about it. And your words, not mine, on the offensive line. I think they've got size. They're physical. They've got big humans on that offensive line. They lost 2 really good offensive tackles, I guess, off last year's team, and they've had some injuries up front on the offensive line where they've had to move some guys around. But I think they've I'm impressed with them. I mean, they're athletic and they got some good young players, and the transfer from Auburn that's starting for them is a really, really talented player. And, I know they've given up some sacks and they're not running the ball as efficiently as they would like, I guess. But, I mean, I watched the tape and I don't see that. I see a really physical, impressive, athletic offensive line group. I got you. We'll give him one more. He's trying, man.
Shane, you want to give a shout out to the Mexican place you had?
No, because then I feel like if I do, then it makes the other ones feel slighted, and one may be a sponsor and all that. I don't know. So I don't even know, to be honest with you. My wife ordered it.
It just showed up, and
yeah, it did.
Yeah. You guys obviously probably script first 15 plays, first 2 drives of the game. When you guys are scripting, what's the conversation like with Sat when you're doing that? Is it, hey, let's try and do some different things to see how they line up. Let's try to run our scheme to get guys a little bit into a rhythm. What goes into how you script those plays?
Yeah, I think we're going to certainly you're not going to necessarily say, okay, this is first play, second play, third play, fourth play, because you don't know how the game's necessarily going to go. For example, the Georgia game, I want to say we hit, I think it was Georgia. We hit Jaheim. Did we hit Jaheim on that first drive? Was that the first drive? We hit Jaheim down the sideline. I think that was the second or third play of the game. It was going to be the second play of the game. I think we hit Stogner on the first pass. The second play was going to be the throw to Jaheim. We were close to the first down, so I want to say we went tempo, got the first down, and then immediately went to what was supposed to be play 2, if that makes sense. I think I'm saying that right. So you can get off script a little bit, but it's more so these are the opening 10 plays we want to get called early. 1, it's something that we like. 2, it may be, let's see how they're going to play this formation. 3, let's run this to try and set this up later. I thought Lincoln, that was one of the great things I learned from Lincoln Riley, was every Friday we'd sit down as a coach, as an offensive staff, and he would say, okay, when I call this, you guys in the press box, make sure you're watching for that, because I want to see if this is going to be there. And when I call this, make sure somebody has their eyes on the will linebacker, because if he does X, we're going to do Y, and type thing. And then it's also first third down, here's what we're going to call. First time we're on the goal line, here's what we're going to call. So a lot of it is what we do well, but also how we want to attack them and how we want to set things up later in the game, for sure. And then we talk about it as a staff, and then we go over it with the offense on Friday night. I mean, that's what the Friday night offensive meeting is here's the openers, here's how we're gonna start the game. What you got? We're good. Sorry, didn't mean to overrule you. Think.
Marshawn told us the story after the game Thursday about how you all kind of picked up trash after the Georgia game in the locker room to throw away some bad thoughts. How did that kind of come around, and how do you think that helped?
I think it was really good. To be honest with you, it was. I remember I think it was Bill Parcells or Sean Payton won. They had a bad game in the NFL, and they went out on the practice field and they dug a hole and they buried the game from the day before, and it kind of started along those lines, and it was just really a conversation with me and Derek Moore and Luke Day and Chip Morton, just kind of talking about some things and how to get our team playing better, and it kind of just stemmed off that. Instead of burying something, we've got different things that are cluttering things up for us right now that are keeping us from maybe playing our best. Maybe it's frustration with your role. Maybe it's frustration with a teammate. Maybe it's outside expectations. I don't know, but whatever you're holding on to or whatever's keeping you from playing your best and playing free and having fun, like Rick's question, get rid of it, so we can not keep holding ourselves back and not beat ourselves. Let's clean ourselves up, and because a lot of, give Georgia credit, give Arkansas credit, they beat us. But we didn't, and they had a lot to do with it, but we certainly didn't play great. And let's clean ourselves up, pick up our trash, and get ourselves right, and allow us to just go play free. And you never know how those things are going to go. You may think it's really corny and cheesy, and I didn't know. We walked out of the team meeting room, walked down to the locker room, and there was just 150 pieces of trash laying on the floor that we had put out. And players, coaches, staff, everybody picked up something and threw it away. And you never know, but it was pretty cool. A lot of the guys, players, seniors, that came up to me afterwards and thanked me and said we needed that. And and one of the coolest things I've been a part of, stuff like that. So I don't know. We've won the last 2 since we did it, so maybe hopefully it helped. But I do think just the message of it, and we still talk about it now. Like, don't let this trash come back in and clutter ourselves up. Like, just keep ourselves continuing to get better and not let any outside noise or talking heads on social media that think they know what the heck they're talking about and don't affect what we have going on in here. So thank you. All right, y'all have a good trip. See you later.